Okay, welcome, my friends, to the show that never ends. And yes, we have a younger person here whose technical skills couldn't get the camera to work, so he hit it, and it seemed to come on. Now, what we got to talk about? Wycombe won, Wycombe won, Wycombe won, and that's while I was there as well. That's what's so amazing. And it was an away game I went to, and this has been a very long time. Yes, we won 2-0 at Forest Green, so we've got that match to discuss. We've also got, well, sneaking a little bit about Kieran playing a game of football yesterday morning, and one or two names people said and called him. We'll fit that in
somewhere. Not very nice, is it?
And we'll also bring in, well, of course, the Premier League, and I see bloody United scored in the 93rd minute again.
This Garnacho bloke, people in the start saying he's worth 100 million, aren't they?
Are they? Well,
Probably.
It doesn't matter what he's worth, it's how much they're paying him, surely, that matters. But,
fair enough.
But, well, until they come to sell him, that's what he's worth. But, yeah, but Wycombe used to do that. It is a part of the game. I mean, the 93rd minute counts as much as any other minute.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not luck, is it?
Well, unless you're Man United.
Stamina,
yeah.
keeping the skill up to the 93rd minute when others are backing off. I mean, that's
using your
true,
subs wisely. Yeah, no,
true. Yeah. The other, so we got the bits of Premier League, and also the other little bit I'd sneak in there is the World Cup. That's coming along nicely next week, in fact. 6 days from now, as in tomorrow, if you see what I mean. And so we're going to just have a little quickie look at one or two facts and figures on how to win the World Cup. The lessons teams can learn from previous winners. And I know this sounds a shock. I know everybody don't just turn off straight away. But looking at the facts and figures, it means England stand a chance.
Great.
It's
isn't it the hope that brings us down?
The hope that brings us down. Oh, surely not. Surely not. I having read this piece and going to discuss the facts and figures. We're on. We're on. It's ours. We might as well not even bother going. Just give us the cup now.
It's coming home.
It's coming home. It's coming home. I should play that, really, shouldn't I?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Number one. Gotta discuss Wycombe winning. Well, first of all, on the independent Wycombe Wanderers coach, we left a little bit early, obviously, to get to the pub in time to drink all of their ale. And we got there so early. We got there at 11:30, and the pub hadn't opened till 12. So he knocked on the door, the guy that runs it, Colin, and the guy opened early so that we could all pile in. And yeah, so I think we were in the pub for about 2 or 3/4 hours, I guess, in the end. Because we're only sort of down the road from where it was. I don't know how many people out there been to Forest Green. It's obviously not. That's not the name of the place. I can't remember what the name of the place was. The Nainsworth, is it? Something like that. Nainsworth.
Something obscure.
Nainsworth. Yeah, near Stroud. And you go through this tiny little village and up the hill, and it's on top of the hill. This thing. I say thing. If anybody ever went to Lokes Park, that's what it looks like, sort of. There was nobody there. If you got numbers on your phone, can you look up the attendance? Because I can only presume that Wycombe outnumbered them. In one end was sort of like half the size of the behind the goal. It was a tiny little shed, and there couldn't have been more than 50 people in it. In the other end, with another little shed, it went back a few, and a few hundred in there. And then opposite where we were all down one side standing. I love you could buy seats. So if have a look on YouTube or something at the seating arrangements. I think there was a line of about 15 chairs somewhere. But opposite was their so-called big stand, which was half empty or half full, depending which way you look at it. Tiny club.
I mean, it probably doesn't help the fact that they're not actually called after a place.
It doesn't
because
help, does it?
Because it's not like this whole thing, like geographical thing of you belonging to a place or a club in this instance.
Yeah, Wycombe.
And yeah, and so everyone from Wycombe will eventually kind of go and see a Wycombe game. Whereas Forest Green, if it's not an actual place, it's got no kind of
identity.
Yeah,
it's a bit of a strange one.
They don't have the stats on Sky Sports how many people are there, but
it's a funny old thing though, because you have to say, how the bloody hell did they get into League One? I thought Wycombe was small and suddenly it felt that Wycombe are massive compared with. I mean, very, very odd. I mean, it's just daft, really. They're so small. I mean, you can only congratulate them, really, how that club managed. I mean, the daft thing is, compared with Wycombe, they're tiny, and the previous game I went to was at Derby, where Wycombe are tiny.
Yeah.
So Derby versus Forest Green, it's a joke.
It's completely different universes, isn't it?
I mean, they weren't much bigger than Holmer Green, you know?
No.
The beer was pretty good, but I didn't have any. It sells Punk IPA, which I really like. They're sponsored by, I think. And the other thing you have to say that's great about them is their shirts. I really love their home kit.
Yeah.
That's worth a look as well. I love their home kit. It's green and black. That really, it looks good. It looks good. Wouldn't mind one of their tops. So you'd support them just for that, because you wouldn't support them for the football. I have to say, they were awful. Let's be honest. They're down. We talked about Burton being bad. Definitely Burton versus Forest Green would. Yeah. I'm not sure which was worse.
I have to say, sorry, just going quickly back to attendance and all that. I've looked on both the BBC Sport and Sky Sports websites, and they don't have it. Wycombe always tweet out how many people are there from each side, and they haven't got it either. So I'm not sure they actually do the statistics at Forest Green based on probably how embarrassing the numbers are.
Well, I'm not kidding. There must be less than 50 behind one of the goals.
Yeah.
And not many more behind the other. And I mean, I don't know. All I know is there was more Wycombe fans there than there were Forest Green. And of course, being top of the hill, the wind was pretty, ball up in the air and it stopped. You were on top of a hill, and you had to go all around these sort of little lanes to get to the ground. It was a funny place. I can see why it'd be home for fans, but I'm not sure. I mean, they are out of their league, that's for sure. A bit like when Wycombe go into the Championship, we are out of our league until we do all these big sort of road building behind and build bigger stands. They can't accommodate. The pitch was in a pretty dreadful state as well. I mean, they were going around fixing all the holes before and during the game. It wasn't good. But I thought they were pretty awful. They relied on height and strength. That's all they were going to do, argy-bargy. And the argy-bargy, what we spoke about last week. Have you seen how many yellow cards we picked up? We got 3, they got 4. We're back.
Wow, that's a lot.
And I think, had the referee seen the fight that broke out and caught the right people, they both Wycombe and Forest Green could have had players sent off as well. The tackle was pretty shocking by the Forest Green player as well. But it's worth mentioning who was in that lineup and the style of football used. Wycombe played their back 4, which we spoke about because it means we're further back. We defend round our box and we stick the boot in. We work on then attacking from there over the top or through as fast as possible, getting up there and sticking the ball in the net. The funny thing was that although we had the back 4, we had a fighter in the middle. In fact, we had 2. And I spoke to somebody before the game. I wanted Wheeler in there, not wing, because I felt he could offer height. And I think he's got a bit more toughness about him. He's not going to be argy-bargy off the ball. And sure enough, he wasn't, and he scored. Brilliant. And what is a brilliant goal? Who cares? It crosses the line. I mean, he hits it, and it went up into the top of the net with Wycombe attacking backwards and forwards. Wycombe attacked that first half, just kept going and scored 2 goals. And then turned into the team we love, wasting time, annoying them, being a pest, with always the threat of the 3rd goal, but it never actually came off. Scowen was in that midfield and Wheeler, and that worked. He wants to use that every week. Those 2 were brilliant. Okay.
In saying that, remember his Forest Green.
Yeah, I know that. But I tell you what, at one point I noticed Scowen was a bit further up the pitch where he'd been into about 2 different tackles, really hard tackles. The ball went then past him. He turned round and nobody went for the player and the ball. Their player and ball going for it. And he ran back and got it. And he had a right go at the other Wycombe players for not killing themselves to get to it. And I thought, we're back. He's back. He's controlling that midfield. He's shouting his head off. The goalkeeper was shouting his head off. You could hear Mawson. You could hear Tafazoli. And here comes a shock. I don't know whether this suggests how bad they were, Forest Green, but Grimmer looked really good. I don't know. I don't know.
That's a collector's item, you saying that?
Grimmer had one of his best games for Wycombe. I have to be honest, that back line did really, really well.
Well, I mean, if
that was Jacobson, Tafazoli, Mawson and Grimmer.
As the kind of flat back 4s go for Wycombe, that's pretty substantial, isn't it?
It's the best we got, isn't it?
Near enough.
And with Wheeler and Scowen in the midfield, I like that because Wheeler offers the height in that midfield. And Scowen is boss.
Not even sure it's height, to be fair, that Wheeler has. He just can head the ball.
No, he can get off the ground, can't he? Yeah. Somehow. He's got a spring. But he can score them as well.
Yeah.
He's got a few, hasn't he?
Yeah. He does seem to pop up with a few, more than kind of the other centre mids and CDMs do.
He's adaptable as well, isn't he? I think he can sort of move around a bit in different places. He's a bit more adaptable. McCleary had a better game than normal, but to be honest, it's difficult to tell. They were rotten. I mean, they were rotten. Um, and
I'd
once,
probably easy to say because he did score a really nice goal.
yeah, but before then, it was his. I have to say, Mehmeti was clearly the least of any use on the football pitch,
Mm.
which rather baffled me a bit because here, I have to say, the fullback he was up against was their best player.
Mm.
He seemed to, but he got a bit of bad luck and ended up with the one decent player they had to sort of stop him. And Vokes, he won them. He won them in the air, but there was nowhere they.
Didn't really do anything still.
No, no. But I don't think it. I don't think it was a real game for Hanlon either. It wasn't that type of game. We need a
Uh,
Vokes too. Younger Vokes is what we need.
yeah, a taller, more athletic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there much more to say about that game? Not really, actually. I'm not. I don't need to spend too much time on here. Uh, I sort of felt sorry for him, really, and so that tells you something, doesn't it? When you actually feel a little bit sorry. Do you know what they had? I tell you what the second half was like. It'll give you a clue. Yes, there was an injury where it took a while for them to get on and off the pitch, but there was 9 minutes extra time. If that
Yeah.
gives you a clue as to what the game was a bit like. And it was perfect. And again, people around me saying, "Oh, come on, get that third goal, finish it off." I'm thinking, no, we're doing fine, thank you. You know, don't risk anything for a third goal. They
Mm.
they weren't good enough to score. They had moments where you thought, but if you see the highlights, lack of their highlights, they had no highlights to show, did they?
No, not really.
Their highlights were corners that they got that might have had it gone to one of their players, but isn't that always the case? Wycombe cleared them. And occasionally they took a shot from outside the box because they couldn't get in it, which never went anywhere near. Really, there wasn't a lot, I have to say, from them. Wycombe had way more chances than they did. But it's good that we got the two. The only disappointing about getting two is my ticket that I got for me gamble was 1-0, not 2-0, a Wycombe win. And the other one was 3-3, so I'm glad that didn't happen. If we look at the statistics, of course, if you look shots off target, they had 6, we had 5. So they had more shots, but theirs were wild. The shots on target, they had 1 and we had 4, but the expected goal rate was 1.02 for them and ours 1.12. So not a lot of difference.
I don't feel like our chances were, significant, particularly.
Didn't need them after 2 goals, do you?
No.
You don't need to risk more after 2 goals. 1 goal you do, but not 2 in the first half. Their heads dropped after the first one. It was a bit of a surprise, really. You'd see the XG rate in the first half. Theirs was really low, ours was high. Then it almost sort of turned upside down in the second, but then it would because we'd scored 2 goals. And that's what you expect to happen.
Mm.
I think that's really, yeah. We're now looking at the table. I mean, we do say where we are. We're 10th, 25 points. At the bottom there, I mean, MK Dons and Morecambe, Burton, and Forest Green are all within a point of each other, 14 or 13 points. those four teams. Above them, above the MK Dons, are on 14. You've got Accrington on 17. So that's who they've got to be chasing, Accrington. And then Wycombe have got 25. We're out of that fight.
Yeah, doing pretty well in that case. With 3 points off of Derby in sixth.
Exactly. And this is where we sit, isn't it? This is where we'll sit. And that's fine. Oxford have got themselves out of trouble, haven't they? You see, they're
Yeah, doing all
23
right
points
now.
and they won 4-0. But all those bottom teams, I think.
I mean, it's only 3 points, but that's still half decently significant in comparisons, kind of the rest of the league and how many points you got to build up. I mean, the team above Accrington, Cheltenham's on 19, so to go up 2 places, you've got to make up 6 points on people.
Yeah,
which again doesn't sound like much, but can surprisingly take a while.
I mean, more. It's funny though because those bottom teams, you see, I mean they matter because Morecambe actually drew 1-1 with Portsmouth, which was a good score. And Burton drew 3-3 with Charlton, and the others I think lost, didn't they? But yeah, Oxford won 4-0 again. I say again. I mean, so it's funny if you look at how they're getting on. The bloke that does their write-ups always saying how dreadful they are to watch, and then suddenly this week he's written something about where the flip did that come from. But they've been steadily rising up the table. But that league, that top of the league stuff, is going to be an interesting fight. I think by the end, I think Plymouth, Ipswich, Sheffield Wednesday, Peterborough, Portsmouth, and Derby. Derby have taken over from where Bolton were on goal difference.
I have to say, I mean, in recent years, Plymouth have always kind of faltered away at the halfway stage. It's difficult. It's difficult to see them doing that this time because they are so far in front of some of the teams around them that you don't really anticipate them to drop off that much.
Well, they've got to get in the playoffs. I mean, the teams in 5th and 6th, Portsmouth and Derby, have got 28 points. Plymouth have got 42.
Yeah, that's a lot. There's no way they can drop off that significantly.
I mean, 42 points out of 18 games is above the going up points, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, that's flipping good. That is.
Actually, I'm saying that. I've just had a look at their most recent results. They drew 1-1 with Lincoln yesterday. They lost 5-1 to Grimsby in the FA Cup. And then they won their previous 2 and then drew against Bristol Rovers. I mean, there's a couple of results in there that are a bit dodgy, but I mean, that's not to say they've got to win every game. They've got Burton next to them, so they'll be fine.
Oh, well, that's 3 points then, yeah.
Yeah.
So, interesting table. Wycombe are okay. Might latch on. Just sit there, yeah. We might latch on into 6th. That'll be fine. If we don't, we're okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's Wycombe. Wasn't that good? I'm really pleased. I've seen Wycombe win. Admittedly, I had to make a point of getting to Forest Green to do so. That was virtually a safe bet, wasn't it?
A little bit.
I think so.
I mean, to put it the other way, if we hadn't have won that, oof.
Absolutely.
Knocking on Gareth's door, aren't we?
Yeah. He has been told by the owner it's up to him when he wants to go because they'll never get rid of him. Do you know that?
When did he say that? Or did you hear this off your reliable source on the coach?
who do you know is my reliable source on the coach?
I don't know, but I'm just under the
All right,
assumption that's
I
how
do
you
have a
found out.
reliable source on the coach, actually.
Who's
And
that?
I'll tell you who it is
Is that
afterwards.
the old drunk man at the back?
No, I'll tell you afterwards. I'm not going to name him on here, all
Fine, fair
right,
enough.
because that would be unfair. That'd be unfair. But it is somebody who
Who
would
knows what they're
know.
on about? Fair
Who would
enough.
know? Yeah. Basically, it's up to him when he goes. They're not going to get rid of him. Okay, next, got to come, Kieran. Got to just tap in slightly here. How did you get on playing your first 11-a-side football for how long?
4 years.
4 years. How did you
4 years. How ridiculous is that?
get on?
Well, to give it a bit of context, one of the people I play football with on a Monday night, just 7-a-sides, invited me to play for their 11-a-sides team on a Saturday, and which I, absolutely would go for. New team, so started on the bench and came on in the second half. Slotted in at centre back. Thought it was a bit kind of not harsh, but like a little bit of pressure going into centre back straight away.
What did you want? Goalkeeper?
I was expecting fullback or something, which I would have been fine with, but no, we slotted in at centre back. We played quite well and got a 2-1 win. Um, but the noteworthy thing was some of the size um, comments. The first thing was that the kits, obviously, like Saturday, they just hand them out as opposed to you have your own. The kits only went up to a large. For a lot of people, that would be absolutely fine. For people like me who are larger in size, shall we say, I look like a knobhead
A
because,
knobhead.
because it just didn't fit. It did not fit whatsoever. And so when I was marking one of their players at a corner, he shouted to the ref, "Oh, ref, that's not fair. He's on steroids." And
Yes.
I was, I was like, I don't know how to say that. I assume I'll say that as a compliment. And it kept going, this comment. And then the ref came over and said, I've
Are
never
you on
seen thighs.
steroids?
No, he was like, I've never seen thighs like it. And I was like, should we just stop the game and just look at me for half an hour? Like, it was very strange.
Did,
But
did
there
you
you
did,
go.
did you use this strength to push him out of the way?
A bit, yeah. Well, he didn't get the ball, let's say that. Um, I didn't clatter anyone in the first game. Speaking of which, actually, we should bring up what you told me to do on Saturday morning. So I messaged my family group chat being like, "Our first 11 side game in 4 years this morning. What's your comment? Don't get sent off because you're too slow." How to strike confidence into your son when playing 11 aside
Well,
for the first
it's,
time in ages?
it's just you haven't played for 4 years, and
No.
it just struck me that if you bring somebody on after 4 years, either you know that they might just sort of mistime one or two things when they go hell for leather for something, and then they end up taking the guy's leg off. It was
But
just sort of,
I just like the fact that you probably haven't seen me run for 4 years, and because of my added size, you're now under the assumption that I'm slow, and I might get sent off because of it.
are you slow?
I wouldn't say I'm slow.
Right.
If you ask me to do it over an extended period of time, then maybe a sprint I'm okay at.
Okay. I might pop down one Saturday when I'm free to come and
I was going to
watch.
say, yeah, absolutely, you should.
Yeah, I'll get on a train, pop down and have a look.
Yeah.
Okay. Next topic then is the lineup, the 26 that he picked. We got a couple wrong, or he got a couple wrong, is probably the way to word it. Which ones did we get wrong?
Uh, is we not? I didn't. I said Callum Wilson wouldn't get in, didn't I?
Hmm.
I think I put Abraham in instead, and he picked Wilson, not Abraham.
Is that good or bad?
I just don't see, like, when are you gonna bring on Wilson? Wilson. At what point do you think, I know who I need to bring on? Callum Wilson.
Inspiration?
Just doesn't. Is he inspiring? I don't know. I don't feel like he is. Um, did we? Who else did we say? We didn't put Rashford in. I
No.
don't think. And Rashford is going. Think. Did we say Phillips would go in the end?
Well, we talked ourselves out of him.
And he is going. I didn't realise actually how little he's played this year. Do you know how many minutes Kevin Phillips? What's his name? Don't know, but Phillips. Do you know how many minutes he's played this season? 15. He came on for 13 minutes
15 minutes this season, and he's in the England lineup.
I'll tell you something else that kind of struck me. Man City at the weekend needing a winner against Brentford. Grealish sat on the bench and doesn't get on. That tells you something, doesn't it? For your £100 million man.
It's funny, isn't it? That whole thing. I mean, Maguire again didn't play for United.
No. And I'm sure he'll play at the World Cup.
Yeah, he'll probably play all 3 starting games. I'll say all 3 because that might be all. But
what, Iran, Wales, and USA?
Here we go. Are you ready for this? How to win the World Cup. The lessons teams can learn from previous winners. Now, we're going to look at the last 6 winners. I would ask you to name them, but can you?
I reckon so. 2018 France, 2014 Germany, 2010 Spain, 2006 Italy, 2002 Brazil, 1998 France.
You're dead right. Well done. Well done.
Bosh.
I'm impressed. Right. Well, the first thing to mention is they're not always favourites, the winners. This year's is Brazil.
Is it?
Oh, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. I think we're 7-1, England.
I think we're like 6th or 5th, aren't we?
Yeah. But which is why we stand a chance. Because if you actually look at those last 6 winners, okay, first thing, let's look at the group stage. Everybody has heart attacks in group stage. I thought of a joke then and decided against it. But we could talk about England sort of in their draw against America and all this stuff. And we always worry, don't we, in the group stage, be embarrassed and stuff. Here you go then. World Cup winners' group stage performances are not good. None of them have been that good. In fact, they've got worse, really. France in 98 scored 9 goals. Okay. And they did pick up 9 points. So to be fair, they did all right. The following year, 2002, Brazil scored 11 goals and they got 9 points and came top.
Sounds pretty good to me.
Okay. Then we end up with the problem. 2006, Italy, 5 goals in their 3 games. They only picked up 7 points. They did not come top. Spain, only 3 goals. Okay, so Italy actually was sort of 5th. If you looked at all the different groups, Italy would have come 5th. Spain only scored 3 goals in 2010. They would have been ranked 6th, and they only picked up 6 points.
They lost to someone crap as well. I remember that.
Yeah. Germany in 14 only scored 7 goals and only picked up 7 points in the group stage. But only 7, I say only 7 points. I mean, 2
wins and a draw.
2 wins, a draw. And the same with France last time. Do you know how many goals they scored? in the group stages on the 3 games?
Must have been okay.
3.
Really?
They only scored 3. They were that ranked 9th. They scored but they did pick up 7 points, you see. So picking up the points, but it's who they lost to, etc., etc. I mean, Italy barely got out the first gear in the group stage. They only just managed to get past Australia in the second round. Spain lost their opener to a 1-0 defeat to Switzerland. Germany in 2004 thrashed Portugal 4-0, which was where out of their 7 goals, they got 4 against Portugal. Okay. But then they had real trouble with Ghana and just about beats United States 1-0. But France were absolutely shocking, scoring 3 goals in 3 group games, 1 a penalty, 1 of them was an own goal, and probably they contributed to probably the worst game of the tournament, a 0-0 draw with Denmark. They recorded non-penalty XG figures of 0.6, 1.9, and then a 0.3 in the group stage. So clearly, in the last 4 World Cup winners have collected, none of them have collected 9 points from the group stage, but more importantly, none of them have looked any good either. So as the group stage comes to an end and they scrape through on bad performances, the last 4 World Cup winners looked shit. England stand a hope of getting through that first group stage and winning it by looking shit. Now,
and let's be honest, we will.
We will. So that's part 1. Now, we will come to part 2 next week, because next week is kickoff time and we would have had the first game and possibly the next few, depending on when you're watching it. But what we do know next week, everybody, is I've talked you through the first group stage, and it's okay to be rubbish and not score many goals as long as you scrape through.
I tell you what, I hope you're as buzzing for the first game as I am. Do you know what the first game is?
It's the Dubai. No, not Dubai.
Qatar.
Do you know, I keep calling them Dubai.
It's a similar kind of place.
Racist.
Is it? No, it's a similar kind of place.
Yeah. What, hot?
Well, hot, deserty.
And with camels.
Yeah, and a lot of money.
Yeah. Money, camels, and hot.
They're playing Ecuador.
Yes, that's right, because they changed the date to play them the first game, isn't it? Okay, so I will leave that bit there. We can come to the rest another time. We're going to do what we're going to do now, Kieran, is we're going to look at the Premier League. Okay, and you're going to talk us through that Premier League. Is that okay? This is a shorter one, isn't it? Yeah.
All good.
It's the shorter, the better it is. Yeah.
Not necessarily. I mean, I don't know what the statistics are on how people watch this program.
Well, we had a load more last week.
Did we?
Than we had the previous week. And I don't understand why people pick 1 week to watch it and 1 week not.
Well, if it is based upon who we play, you're going to get no one this week.
Except that one little kid behind one of the goals.
Yeah, exactly. Bless them. All right. Well,
we got a couple of stunners in there this time.
Yeah, we do. I watched the first one because I was like, oh, this could go well. Manchester City won, Brentford.
You watched
2.
it?
I watched the second half, yeah.
I haven't even seen Match of the Day yet.
Have you not?
No.
It was actually quite enjoyable to watch. Because Brentford pretty much sat back the whole time, but every time they got the ball, they got a chance. And it was a good one as well. Um, City actually were quite poor, and it's looking good for Arsenal. um, Tony had a
Really?
yeah, it
It's
genuinely
funny,
is at this
everybody's
point.
saying that now, aren't they?
Was now they're 5 points in front going into the new year. Yeah. Tony had a point to prove, and he proved it. He was
I
very
think
good.
he's going to have a point to prove when they come back as well.
I, he's like what? Is he fifth top scorer in the league? And he hasn't made the England squad. And people like Callum Wilson and Rashford have. It's
And
ridiculous.
and the guy you said who's only played 15 minutes.
And Phillips, yeah, exactly. So I mean,
15 minutes,
what's even
everybody.
the point? But the thing I enjoyed most about the City game, I shouldn't really say it like that, but like De Bruyne was awful, and it was nice to see. Because
Are you
sometimes he's too good,
are
and
you just hoping that City don't win it? Is this your
no,
main
because
aim in life?
I hate seeing City win. But the problem is that if Arsenal win it, it probably annoys me more because I care about Arsenal winning it. I don't care about City winning it. So either I'd want Liverpool to win it or City to win it.
But see, I had that little Arsenal thing in me.
Yeah, you obviously want Arsenal to win it.
Yeah, because the only reason is Liverpool really is because of you. But
Yeah,
Arsenal were who I sort of
which is
liked.
fine.
I
Yeah,
kept an eye on in the Premier League. That because my granddad made me pick a London team, and at the time they were winning everything. And
yeah.
so he was a West Ham fan. He said, "Who are you going to support?" When I was sort of so high, and I said, "I don't know." And he said, "Well, Arsenal top of the league. Got to be a London team, a local team." And I said, so I picked Arsenal, of course.
Fair
So I'll
enough.
always
That's
keep
fine.
an eye open for Arsenal. I'd
Yeah,
like them to win it.
I suppose I would, but I wouldn't mind Liverpool winning it as well.
It's nice to have a turnover, though.
Oh no,
It'd be
absolutely.
bad, be so. I don't mean City, but Liverpool included. It'd be nice to have. I mean, would that make it three different winners of the Premier League in the last 3 years?
Four, 4 years.
4 years, yeah.
City have won it twice in a row.
So
Yeah.
that is only good for the
Oh
whole
no,
of the Premier
the
League.
thing is, it is good in that sense. But from like a supporter's viewpoint, I need Liverpool to win it again at some point. The fact that Arsenal have gone through one of their like worst spells in their history and they're gonna win the league during it is insane and ridiculous.
But
Um,
Brentford, then impressed.
Very good,
They've
yeah.
had a shocking.
And they've had a shocking like last 5 games or so, and then they've gone and beaten City. Sometimes football is peculiar in that way. Um, yeah,
So
they're brilliant. Uh, Next up, Bournemouth 3, Everton nil. I think Frank's on his way. Um,
he's still favourite to go. I looked at the odds.
well, yeah,
He's
he has
still
to be.
favourite because you got the Leeds guy is pretty favourite, as is West Ham, Mister
Yeah,
Manager.
Moyes is the thing
Yeah,
that's keeping.
I was talking to a West Ham fan today, and he can't wait until he's gone, and it's just
Really.
time, really.
Well, I think the thing that's keeping Moyes alive is their Europa League run. They're doing well in that. Um, the Leeds guy, they've had a couple of okay performances, so he will be in for like another week or so. But Frank's had not had a good performance in I don't know how long. He's lost to Bournemouth 4-1 and 3-0 in a week. Like, I don't see what else he has to do to get sacked.
Not
Um,
really. I mean, you know where he's sitting, don't you, in the league?
no,
He's 17th on 14 points.
mate, it's
And then
rubbish.
below him are the three that go down. Forest on 1 point less, and Southampton on 1 point less than them, and Wolves 4 points less than Everton. So he's in dropping distance, easy
Yeah,
in dropping
yeah.
distance, along with the West Ham and Leeds,
Mm,
I might add. But he is in dropping distance.
yeah, mate, he's having a stinker. Um,
Bournemouth, though, what a bit of a surprise.
yeah, they're actually doing all right for some reason. I think they're one of my favourites to go down. They don't look horrendous, so I reckon they'll probably be okay. Although in saying that, it is very, very tight at the bottom of the league.
It is.
Um, next up, Liverpool 3, Southampton 1. Darwin's turned up, and he actually looks pretty good. Um,
Yeah, I read a lot of comments by Liverpool fans and only complimentary, I might
Liverpool fans
add.
love him. Liverpool fans love him.
Character. People like character, and he's got character. And I think his headbutt probably did him a favour for that sense.
Maybe,
You think?
yeah. I mean, taught him a lesson straight away, which is good. Prefer him to do it then as opposed to deep on in the season. Um, and yeah, he generally looks like a player with so much confidence, which is very nice. Elliot again was amazing. I don't know why there hasn't been as much talk about him getting in the England squad. I mean, if you're playing for one of like the top four clubs week in, week out in midfield and going into a World Cup with a country who don't have that many midfielders, I find a little bit bizarre. But fine. And Southampton should have scored a lot more. Allison did save us a lot.
Yes, that was something Liverpool fans spoke a lot about.
Yeah. If they were a bit more clinical, then could have been a bit of a different story.
Having the world best goalkeeper
Does help.
does help.
Yeah. He was absolutely brilliant.
Although on here, Nunes, they've given him 9 points, which
Yeah.
I can't honestly say you see very many of them.
I think that's a little bit generous. Like his 2 goals were very, very well taken, and he did play well in general. But like the whole of the Liverpool team, they did go a little bit missing in the second half. But fine, he did very well. Nottingham Forest 1, Palace 0. Don't know a heck of a lot about it. Zaha missed a penalty. Their goal was scrappy again. Forest. They get a lot of scrappy goals.
Gibbs White. He's scored a couple in the last 2 weeks now.
Yeah, he's doing all right.
They talked about him being a complete waste of money, but he might be coming good.
There was 2 shots on target the whole game.
Really?
For Forest Palace. That tells you something. But yeah, Forest looking okay now as well. Where are they? I know they're in the bottom 3.
Yeah.
Ignore me then.
Again, Gibbs White, you see, was man of the match in that. So he might be coming along there.
Yeah, they're doing all right. They're doing all right.
Oh, it's the hardest penalty, did he?
Yeah, it was bad as well. I love the commentary as well from whoever was commentating the game, being like, "Oh, it's a really bad penalty." That it's like, yeah, he missed the goal. Of course, it's a bad penalty.
You know what? Didn't even get it on target.
No, it was actually like a comment that someone said on Saturday morning. We equalised to make it 1-1, and our goalkeeper shouts, "Come on, lads, it's 0-0." And it's like, I know what you're trying to say, but it is 1-1. You saying 0-0 doesn't actually change anything. It is currently a draw. We know this. You're supposed to shout it's 0-0 when you're winning, not when you're actually drawing like a 0-0 suggests. I just thought it was very funny.
I just need to drop in there, Kieran. You've never actually played in an adult team, have you, before?
No.
We saw adult games when you were in a teenage team.
Yes.
And it always looked thumper. Yeah.
There were some slide tackles in there that I wouldn't have liked to have been involved in. Let's say that.
I just wanted to ask because I remember all the swearing and players going off for a fag in between and that sort of thing. I just wondered whether it...
A little bit slightly lucky in the fact this is a church league. So
Right.
you could get away with it.
Okay.
We did pray before the game started.
So you ask for forgiveness when you've done a dive, yeah?
Something like that,
Okay.
yeah. God was shining upon us.
Yeah.
And you know,
And you told all the other team they must be sinners. Yes.
something like that,
And you're
yeah.
going to crucify them.
Sort of.
Something like that. Yeah.
Something like that.
Something like that. Yes.
Um, yeah, if any more comments about me not fitting my shirt, and I'll.
Well, we'll buy you one, all right?
No, it's fine. I
We'll
can't just
buy you
buy.
one, and
No,
we'll
because
get Akin Fenwa put on the back. All right?
great if you want. That'd actually be quite funny, to be
It
honest.
would. Are they just
Um,
ordinary? Have they got any badges on, or are they just white?
I think they do, but I don't think it would matter if you did get one that didn't have a badge on it. I'll ask. I'll
You'll
ask
ask, and we'll
because
get
I
it
mean,
printed on the back for a laugh, shall we?
yeah, if you want, genuinely, I
What
think it'd be
number
quite
was
funny.
he? 17,
For
was he?
for Wycombe,
Yeah,
20,
20. We'll do that. We'll do that.
sure.
Okay then.
Um, Spurs 4, Leeds 3. Lucky Spurs once again. Um,
Yeah, this
Le
was a first half, second half, was it?
no, it was 2-1 to Leeds at half time. So not totally, but Leeds just shot themselves in the foot too many times, conceding crappy goals. I don't think their goalkeeper's very good at all, Leeds. He always seems to let in a goal that you know that other keepers would save.
Yeah.
Um, and
Well, they didn't help themselves. Well, they went and got a bloody another red card, didn't they, at the end?
yeah, it just didn't help, of course.
There's
Um,
no discipline, that team.
no,
And
it
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 shows
was
itself in the manager, doesn't it?
yeah. I mean, as much as it was 4-3 and quite close, erratic is the word I would use to describe it.
Yeah, their games are, and their manager jumping around on the sides. It just he just doesn't look like there's control in the on the pitch.
No, there's a difference between kind of Klopp's rock and roll style and this bloke's.
Yeah,
This bloke, like Klopp's rock and roll style, is well thought out rock and roll. This guy's just slamming guitars all over the stage.
yeah, yeah.
Um, uh, yeah. So donkeys. West Ham 0, Leicester 2. Madison getting injured.
Yeah, how bad
How bad is the question?
do we know?
I'll quickly look it up on Twitter. But I mean, if that has put him out in mad, like that's just so frustrating. I mean, frustrating for the people who've been talking about it all week, to be honest with you, because we've been talking. Will Madsen get in the squad? He should do, and then he did, and now he's suddenly injured. Um, uh, he's tweeted injury isn't too bad. A small problem that was causing a bit of soreness. Doesn't sound like it's too bad. So hopefully he'll. Thing is, I don't even think he'll even play at the World Cup. I don't think Southgate would bring him on. But we'll see.
Right.
What was the one after that? My laptop's just frozen. Wolves 0, Arsenal 2. Didn't see the highlights of this one. Wolves are rubbish. Arsenal are brilliant. Standards, really. Don't know why Wolves are so bad this season. It's quite confusing. Because they've always just been a very standard, good Premier League team that you'd be kind of scared of going to their ground because it's a definite banana sip, or it used to be, and now it's just bad. Newcastle 1, Chelsea 0. Chelsea are in trouble, and they've only just got a new manager. Very good goal from Newcastle. Newcastle do look good. I don't know how, and I don't know why.
No, because it's all well and fine to say, well, they've just come across lots of money, but they haven't come across world stars.
No, I mean the front three is still Almiron, Wood, and Joe Linton.
Yeah,
Like, and the midfield, whilst they've got Bruno in there, it's still Willock and Longstaff.
exactly.
It's not a world beating team. And then you look at Chelsea's, And actually, Chelsea's looks pretty bad as well. I don't know where all their players have gone, but they've got. I mean, they brought them all off the bench. Pulisic, Thiago Silva, Cucurella, Ziyech, Havertz, Mount, Jorginho, Kovacic. I mean, Aubameyang. There's a lot of talent in there, supposedly, and they don't show it.
Do you know, in that game, there were 2 players went off injured. Do you know that?
Was it?
Loftus Cheek, what did he go off for? Any idea? After 7 minutes.
No idea.
And the other one, so he's lucky he isn't going. And the other one was Sven Botman.
Centre back for Newcastle, yeah.
He went off at the end injured.
All these
Seems to be a lot more injuries this weekend. Is it because they're pulling out?
What, pulling out of tackles and injuring themselves?
Mm.
Do you mean?
So they don't go in quite and injure themselves.
Tension is a cause of injury.
Yeah.
So, very potentially. And then today, we had Brighton 0, Aston Villa 2.
No, Brighton 1, Aston Villa 2.
Brighton 1, Aston Villa 2, sorry. Aston Villa deciding to turn up again. Muppets. Danny Ings deciding to put the ball in the back of the net for some reason.
Yeah, I'm interested in looking at this one because Ings gets player of the match again.
Yeah.
Giving him a 9.1 superstar.
What, for a penalty and one other goal?
Well, I don't know what they've given it to him for. I know they always give the bloody player of the match. But remember, that was Ings they gave it to.
Frustrating. And then Fulham 1, Manchester United 2. Frustrating. United win the last minute. Nobody wants to see that.
Well, United fans do.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, this Garnacho bloke, people are starting to rave about him. Don't really know how good he could be. He just seems like a tricky winger. I don't think it's going to be anything spectacular, but he looks all right.
Do you know, the funny thing was, as the striker, they used Martial.
Yeah, he's had a little run in the team, hasn't he, Martial? And I'm not convinced he's done too much to impress.
No, nor am I. I mean, the guy that scored the attack came on for him. In fact, on 72 minutes.
Yeah.
And then stuck the ball in the net. So I've got a sneaking suspicion, the Martial might only last 2 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, it's so weird to see like how much money that United have spent. And yet on their bench today, the notable people were Maguire, Fred, Van der Beek, plays McTominay, and Garnacho.
I know.
It's just such a lack of anything.
I know. But nothing to get excited about.
No.
I mean, Fred, I think, has looked better than United supporters think he is.
Yeah.
I think he gets blamed a lot for things that aren't his fault.
Yeah.
I think he looks good.
But now he's not going to get any game time because they've got Casemiro and Eriksen in there.
Exactly. Time for him to leave.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Kieran. So you want a kit, Akinfenwa kit, and you got a game next week?
I think there might be a week off, but we shall see.
Right, and
we should.
Sorry, go on.
No, we should make it a little clip in the show. If I ever have a game, I'll do a little bit of a review of the game.
Yes, I'm sure everybody's really interested. What's the name of the team?
Sorry. Leigh Park.
Leigh Park.
Leigh Park.
As in Leigh.
Leigh, yeah.
Yeah, and have you got your website?
Not a clue, mate.
All right, get it filmed so we can watch it.
Will do.
Yeah. Okay then. And is there a table anywhere we can look it up?
There should be somewhere. I saw it the other day. We are second in the league. But I should point out that our goal difference, despite being second, is -3. Top of the table have +25, and they are the only ones who are positive in terms of their goal difference.
That's interesting. How many teams in this league?
I don't know.
3?
There's at least 7, I think.
Okay, then we'll be interested to hear how you get on in the future with that. And then I presume it'll be shutting down for a month during the World Cup time because of players missing. Yes,
to allow me to go to the World Cup. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, everybody. Next week, then the World Cup will be kicking off, and we will then discuss the next stage on how well or how badly you have to get through the knockout stages and how bad those teams have looked all the way up, etc. And that's an interesting lineup as well. So when and if we want England to play badly and scrape through, because that's where you get your World Cup winners. And Wycombe won. I'll say that again. Yes, Wycombe won. I'm just keep pinching myself. And I look forward then to next week. Just the last thing to mention is I went to a concert on Friday, Porcupine Tree. Been waiting for this for something like about 10 years. The recordings you're listening to are Porcupine Tree, the band I went to see at Wembley. There were 12,500. I think it was a sellout. That's why you've never heard of them. Don't get it myself. Album goes to #1 and nobody knows about it. Okay, Kieran, say goodbye.
Goodbye.
And I'll say goodbye. Goodbye.